Sonic Colors Ultimate. What can this company do right?
Come on, man, I asked for water.
This should have been the easiest win for Sega. It re-released one of the more positively received Sonic titles of the past few generations, and somehow, someway, they pulled through. They found a way to not only make the game worse, but lie as well. This title couldn't be farther from the truth. There are no colors!
Might be a me problem, though.
Sonic Colors Ultimate is still Sonic Colors from the Wii, which was okay. This was my first time beating Sonic Colors. I know it only takes like 30 minutes to do so, but I was busy. I was waiting for WarioWare. Yeah, it's fine, but it shouldn't be looked at as one of the best Sonic games of all time in my opinion. The game switches between 2D and 3D perspectives, with the 3D being really fun, and also 10% of the game. The other 90% are the 2D portions, which have the camera pulled back so far, you're basically just a speck on the screen, and the controls aren't optimized well for 2D platforming in my opinion. I feel like they were made for the 3D areas, and then for the 2D ones, well, this'll work. 2D Sonic in this game feels stiff and weird and just not fun to control. It's manageable, the controls aren't broken, but I don't find this enjoyable, and when this is the majority of the game, that's a problem. Weirdly enough, I find Sonic Colors and Forces to have far more in common than people act like they do, and everybody hates this game. But what Sonic Colors has that Forces doesn't is a vision and some heart. The theme of an intergalactic amusement park is really cool, and Colors has a lot of fun ideas with the Wisp power-ups and some neat level gimmicks. I know a lot of people dislike the story and dialogue immensely in this game due to how juvenile it can feel, but for me, I don't mind it. This was one of the first Sonic plots in a while to be mainly lighthearted and tongue-in-cheek, and while it does go too far sometimes and could have far better writing, I personally think the overall tone fits just fine for the franchise, and it never became insufferable for me. Overall, I think Sonic Colors is just okay. It's not my favorite, and I have problems with it, but it's harmless at the end of the day, and is, at the very least, a quality enough product. But that's Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors Ultimate? Ah, damn, more Sonic Colors, how dare it. This is a perfectly tolerable method to play that original Wii game, but this remaster stumbles in a good handful of areas that just raise some questions. Why are the loading times significantly worse than the Wii version? Why does the Switch version only run at 30 frames per second? Why are there so many glitches? Why is this called Ultimate when most of the additions are literally just new save file icons? Ultimate doesn't really bring much to the table. There's some new remixes of music tracks, but initially they full on replaced the originals in some levels, and many times it was fair to say they were worse. Not bad songs, but they were called remixes for a reason and felt more like something by a fan you look up on SoundCloud rather than what the official background music of the game should be. The increased resolution is nice, but not worth that much praise. That's the bare minimum I'd expect from a Sonic Colors re-release. The cutscenes look like they were just run through the wash. Like, it looks like they smoothed them out to make them more HD, but it just looks bad, like you just applied a filter to the whole thing. There's only a few extra things like Rival Rush mode, which is this super tacked on addition where you race Metal Sonic through a level, the Jade Ghost Whip from Team Sonic Racing, which doesn't really change anything. There are no lives anymore, a couple of other tweaks here and there, but nothing massive. Nothing at all deserving of the subtitle Ultimate. And like I said, there were numerous glitches at launch. Some people were experiencing game crashes that would then wipe their save file. Some people were experiencing epilepsy. I do feel that this was more so what people heard about that game rather than what most people experienced though. I'm not trying to take away from anybody's misfortune experiencing this thing, but I think those problems weren't nearly as widespread as it may have seemed. I mean, the game reviewed quite well overall, and the fact that none of the reviewers really experienced anything that problematic should show that some of these problems may have been a bit overblown. And Sega has addressed many of these issues via patches, including the music. You can now switch between the originals and remixes, which is great. But that doesn't really take away from the fact that this was a very underwhelming remaster, glitches or not. And I think it wouldn't have been such a thing if they didn't advertise it as anything but. You really didn't have to use the word Ultimate, Sega. You could have just called it Sonic Colors Remastered, or hell, just regular Sonic Colors. But no, they had to make this a bigger deal by advertising all these enhancements in a digital deluxe edition for a 10-year-old Wii game. This is a fine way to play Sonic Colors, though I was very underwhelmed by the additions and improvements and think they actually detract from the game in some ways, though I don't think it's nearly as bad as much of the internet made it out to be. It's a good thing I still have this towel.